but I only had a 2-hour slot. And I remember you said to me, forget it, it's not enough. So since then, we made a movie about you. We published a book about you. And I've had the tremendous honor and privilege of spending hundreds and hundreds of hours with you, traveling around the world, and you escorting our groups to Poland. And I cannot tell you what an honor and a privilege it is. Today, Yom HaShoah, a very unique Yom HaShoah where the whole world is closed down. You're somebody who went through 6 years of the Polish Holocaust. You're a survivor who built for his bar mitzvah present. You built Plaszow concentration camp. You went through Auschwitz. You went through Mauthausen. You went through numerous labor camps. You were the slave boy of some of the worst Nazi butchers in all of our history. It really is such an honor to spend a few minutes with you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Where were you born?
I was born in a shtetl called Zalishitz.
And did any of your family survive? Did any of you go through the war with you?
We were segregated after the siege of Zalishitz. That's where we were running after the war. We left Krakow because in our area, there was too much harassment because it was the heart of the Jewish Krakow. The Szeroka, Lewkowicz, we went there many times with students and we spoke about it. So we ran away and we went to different places, and we were told it's quiet, and then it wasn't quiet. Finally, we ended up in Zalishitz because there were family there until the siege. Then they took us all from there to a field. They put us on that field. We were sitting a whole day, and at night it got wet. We were sitting in water.
So again, I don't know what to call you because there's Jose and there's Joseph and there's Joe and there's Yosef.
Many names.
But I'm going to call you Reb Yosef. Unfortunately, we don't have time to go through the whole story.
Yes.
When we are finished, we're going to show some snippets of the film, of the movie that we made about you. But you went through all of these camps and you went through 6 years of hell, 6 years of Gehinnom. Who family survived?
One, myself. The only one from many. One for many. And then I thought to myself, there must be a reason to it. And if I was only surviving after millions being killed, then there must be a purpose in it. Then I have to do something. So, it's not just happening.
So just a second, before we get...
I went through many miracles that I survived. I was close many times to death. Almost dead. Amon Get thought I was dead. So he put back his pistol into his... yeah, go ahead.
So let me ask you, Rabbi Yosef, you during these 6 years, you mentioned Amon Gert now, who held a gun to your head, the butcher of Plaszow himself. You were in Auschwitz. You had to carry stones up those infamous steps in Mauthausen. You had to work in Ebensee and in Melk in the stone quarries. There must have been times where you just wanted to give up. Can you describe some of those what were the toughest moments and why didn't you give up?
Okay, there's many reasons, but one reason is that I was a young boy and I took everything in strides. I did not really imagine the seriousness of the situation. I did not thought that it was so dangerous. I saw that, I saw people dying. I was in a cattle car 160 people. We went out 20, 140 with that. I've seen all that, and I didn't give up.
When were you when were you closest to giving up? At what moment during those years where you just felt I can't go on anymore? Can you describe that moment?
If you want to know, every day it could have happened, but there was a strength in me, and I said, no, go on, fight. There is emunah, betuchen, hope, believe in Hashem, believe and hope that he's good, that he will help, because he can help. And there was no help anywhere there. Nobody was helping. We were taking like sheep to the slaughterhouse. There was no help. So there was only help to hope from heaven. And that was a very tremendous power in me, that knowing there's a God, it didn't just happen. Nothing happened, just happened. He is everywhere. He is everything. Why does it happen? No, that is the big question we can ask.
I know, just a second. We'll ask you another question. I know in some parts of your story, you came across capos, Jewish people who collaborated with the Nazis. What was your feeling towards them?
To the capos, I used to ask them many times. When you had somebody, not everyone was just a dog, a bad. I was asked them, well, I said, because we are getting a little bit more of food than the regular people, so we're doing it because it will help us survive. Some were just bad people, like the Nazis were bad, just bad. I was wondering, such a Nazi beast, which was in the concentration camp, they had a family. They must have. They're not born out of a stone. They must have parents. They must be married, have a wife. They must have children. Did they love their wife? Did they love their children? As a father, mother, did he love them? If he comes home from the concentration camps after having killed a few people, hanged people, shot people, beaten up so many people, they sit down at the dinner table. What would they talk? What would be the talk there? To his loved ones. What did you do today? Oh, I did to kill so many Jews. Oh, bravo. That's what was my imagination. That they were happy, because who was Hitler, that angel of death? Who was he? He was nothing. Where did he come from? Was he a general? Was he a congressman? Was he a senator? Was he a governor? Where did he come from? He was a nothing. This was a Malach HaMoves, an angel of death, that was came from nothing. Occupied, took on his side the most cultural nation in the world, the Germans. How could this happen? And nobody should rule over 85, 90 million Germans, the greatest scientists in the world, the greatest cultural people, educated people. And he came, made a chorban in the world. I'm crying for 6 million Jews. I don't have any tears anymore, but we know that there was over 50 million people that died in the Holocaust. I mean, in the World War II. So that Malach HaMoves came from nowhere, disappeared to nowhere, and made a chorban. So what is your question now?
Do you feel that I mean, maybe the Germans were just following orders, or did you come across good Germans and bad Germans, you know, and good Jews and bad Jews? Are people able to choose, or they're just programmed to do what they do?
Nazi Germans, the answer is no. No good found. No, not a single one. I had many cases. We went to work and we went past to our orchard on the road. And I say little apple that fell down from the tree. They were probably not edible, but I was so hungry that I would risk my life. I will. And I asked one of those Germans that were leading us. He was guarding us, so to say. Can I pick up an apple from the? He gave me with his rifle on the shoulders. It hurted me for days for asking the question. So I didn't find a good Nazi. Maybe Germans, there were maybe some nice people, but I didn't deal with any German people. I dealt with Nazis in the camps.
And amongst the inmates in the camps, the Jewish people, did they help each other, or was it you just had to survive yourself?
Help each other with what? With empty hand? With people without hope, or people without anything? We used to talk to people. We are people. We used to talk to any friend. When I had an opportunity, when I was working for a shoe shine boy by one of the, I brought a lot of stuff. I stole. I filled my clothes and I brought to the camp and I gave to the people. That was life-saving.
So that was just so people don't know, but you were the shoe shine boy for the commandant of Melk, Julius Ludolf.
Okay, so I must tell the story.
Sure.
I am short. When we lined up, we faced the Appellplatz, the square. So I was always in the front, and the front was torture to stay in the front, because when they passed by, inspecting the groups, I prayed that he should be already past me. But when they were shivering, and one day the thing happened which should not have happened, or Baruch Hashem that it happened, that commandant from that killer, that Julius Ludolf, passes by and stopped in front of me and looks into my eyes. And I clutched my two wooden shoes, lift up my hand and saluted him in German. And I say give him a high title. I knew his rank. I told him, you do honor, you great honor, you Obersturmführer. I will shine your shoes so that I'll polish them, they'll shine like the sun. And this murderous face looks at me. He couldn't, like for a few seconds, he didn't know what to do himself. Then he turned the head away from me, but to his entourage, and he talks to them a little bit. And I see on his face a tiny little smile that I never saw. So I figured it couldn't be so bad. And he passed by. And then a soldier came with a rifle, an SS man, and he said to me, come. Took me out of the camp. When we were there in Melk, I wanted to see that the hill with that villa. And it's
when we were filming,
to
make the film, when we went there to make the movie.
Yes, when we went, we were running to all those places for the film. And everything, the camp is a military camp now.
So you had a special job. What was your job?
Shine the boot. Oh, but he gave me a lot of jobs when he came to feed the rabbits. And he told me there are the carrots. You get it. When I heard there is carrots, I said, my God, I will be the first carrot, because the first rabbit, I mean. Where did I see carrots? Anyway, to do this, but sometimes he gave me a few slaps also, always yelling. But Baruch Hashem, that was a lifesaver.
And the reason why you were telling that story is because I asked you if in the camps people helped one another. So I know that you stole food and you risked your life to help,
because I had with what to help, and I prepared. I knew I was in the camp. I knew our situation, and when I had opportunity to bring whatever he threw out in the garbage can. That was delicious things that saved people's lives. And there were dozens, 2 dozen of people that I had to give them. The first I was afraid to take in things from outside to the camp. But when I saw that they don't check me, probably he said not to check me, he can go free. So that I did everything. I packed my pants and packed every on my shirt. And when I came into the camp was loaded and I had with what to help. And people
what is it in your upbringing? You know, you were 13 when the Nazis came into Krakow and Jaliscic, where you'd been brought up. You were separated from your family. What is it that your mother taught you, your father taught you, that even in such a situation, you're risking your life to help other people?
My mother always, I taught this to my children in Polish even. Nagrzeczności nikt nie tracił. To be nice and to be fine, you'll never lose. My children know that in Poland, in Polish, when they came to Poland, they were saying those words. And the Polacks were wondering, where do you get that? How do you know it?
What are the words again? What are the words?
Nagrzeczności nikt nie traci. On being fine, you'll never lose. On being idle, being fine, being gentle, being chesed, giving loving kindness, you'll never lose.
Wow.
That I took with me as I am,
Wow.
and teaches to my children.
And you also, when I asked you a few times, like why you think you survived, so I think you also told me that your mother told, or your father told you also, you know, to take it. If they're hitting you, take it.
Yeah, you roll with the punches. How we say in English? Take it and go further. Don't look back. Go further. It's a future. There is a future, and we are looking toward the future. That was in the camps, and that is today.
Where towards the end of the war, you know, just by the way, we're now during this terrible time where everybody is locked down, and I think I'm just sharing with you that, you know, at the beginning of this time, people around the world were panic buying. They were going to the stores and buying for themselves. It's incredible to hear from somebody like you, when you were so starving, how with your mother's words ringing in your ear, you weren't only concerned about yourself, you were helping other people. It's incredible. And you, towards the end of the war, after Melk, where you worked in the stone quarries, you were taken to Ebensee. And in Ebensee, what work did you do?
We were digging rocks in the tunnel. We were building tunnels.
Right.
Chopping out rocks and building tunnels. And later on, when the tunnels were built, making their shelves. And on the shelves, putting all kind of munitions and armaments from the German army, hiding it from the Allied forces from bombardment. And that was in the Austrian Alps, in the Alp Mountains.
Is that, where were you liberated?
I was liberated in Ebensee. And
when?
The last day, well, yes, Ebensee.
When?
May 5, 1945.
Right.
By the American Army.
And this is a photograph of you, the cover of your book?
Yes.
At the entrance to
just
Ebensee.
The arch is left. Inside became, just the arch is still left there. And when we were there, I made a broche because through this arch, I walked out free, a free man.
You made a blessing. What was that blessing? Let me go back. When you were liberated 75 years ago, what were you thinking about then? 75 years ago at this arch, what were you thinking about then, 75 years ago? I'm liberated, but I have no family. What did you do?
First of all, I thought I'm going home and I'll meet my family. where my family was already gone 5 years ago. And I didn't know, but there was a hope somewhere in my brain. It will be good. I'll come back home. It will be good.
Do you know
Now,
what was the end of your family? Do you know?
of course, they were taking to Belgium. One way in, and that was it. My father was selected with me to live. We were for a while in Plaszow. Then they separated us. They sent me to other camps. They sent him out to Germany, to Flossenburg. And there I got from the International Red Cross a certificate of that he died. Nobody knows how, died or killed, or that was it. So I was the only one left from the whole family. But you're asking me what was in my mind when I was liberated. A lot of confusion. Were I liberated really? Because we were so enslaved, we didn't have an imagination about liberation. But
what did you do? So what did you do?
What I do, we wanted to go somewhere. We wanted to get out. So we went to Vienna. And from there I went to Poland, back home. And back home, so to say, home, there was no home. But I went back to my building, to my house. And the janitor was living in our apartment. And I came in, gave me a glass of water. And I looked around and I saw things. I saw a painting my mother made, like whatever they call it, a mural or whatever. And I recognized it. And there was such a fine feeling, like a feeling back home. Oh, I remember that. Oh, I remember that. And I looked around. There were things in the house that I remember. And that was a terrible thing that I did. I didn't realize. And then a Polish neighbor saw me coming in again to the house in hiding. He hid himself and he called me. I was afraid. Anyway, he told me, be very careful. You recognize things in the house. Those big boys, they might be planning something against you. As I heard this, I just made a turn around and out. Didn't go in anymore to my house, away. That was the last time I was there.
And again, only because we don't have so much time, you devoted the next year of your life to two activities. What were they? Children,
saving Jewish children from the Goyish homes, from monasteries, from institutions. That was one of the things, almost a year time, maybe 9 months, maybe 10 months, maybe. I don't remember exactly.
Did you find any Jewish?
Yes, we found 600 Jewish children. We got a building, we brought them in there, and they were there, educated there. They were taken care. There was a school. They had everything there, psychologists, doctors. And it was such a big surprise being in Auschwitz this year by the commemoration of the 75 years commemoration, the liberation of Auschwitz. We met two ladies that I was saving them, that I brought them. A pity I didn't follow up with them, where they are, who they are, what they remember that I cannot remember.
So part of your time you were looking for Jewish children who've been taken into Gentile homes to look after them, and eventually altogether you found 600 children, and they got to Palestine. What else?
We brought them, and the plan was to send them to Palestine.
And what is the other activity that you engaged in?
The other activity that I took upon myself is Nazi hunting. I wanted to get all those commandants and all those SS that I experienced their atrocities. I wanted to get after them, and I wanted them to pay for what they did. We found them, we brought them to justice, and they got paid what they for their thing. Amon Get, for example, brought him, found him, brought him, discovered him, brought him to justice, brought witnesses, was condemned in Germany, in Dachau, to die by hanging. Then came the Polish government a few weeks, like 2 weeks before, and said, you cannot condemn him, you cannot execute him, because he committed all his crimes in Poland. We want him extradited, and we will judge him. They judged him. He got the death sentence by hanging, and he was hanged in Plaszow at the same spot where he hanged others. We have seen that spot a few times.
The film that we made about your story, we called The Survivor's Revenge. Now, many people feel that the revenge was among, you managed to identify and bring Amon Gert and other Nazis to justice. But I know that you feel something a little bit different about what revenge is. What is your greatest revenge?
Okay. Revenge doesn't mean I'll take a rifle or a gun and pay him back what he did. Revenge means to do just the opposite what they did. What they spoiled, to fix. What they broke, to fix. The damage that they did to us, we should fix by education. Our youth should be educated. By being educated, they have a strong tool in their hand to fight bigotry, to fight evil, to fight anti-Semitism. We need that very badly now. That's what I speak to students. That is the revenge that we should live and flourish and building and having our own country, living in our country and progressing in our country. So that is the revenge, just what they did not want to have us. We have living peacefully.
What advice do you have for the current situation where people feel incarcerated, they're going through a hard time? You've been through very difficult times. What's your advice? What can you share with us?
We have to follow regulations. And those regulations is not to harm us. This is to protect us. Like staying away from people, because people might have the disease and they don't know. And if I'm close to them, I'll catch it. So we have to observe the rules. We have to hope that after night comes daytime, and we have to follow and do what we have to do. And it is not an easy thing, because a killer is running around and threatens people with people's life.
Now, Rabbi Josef, in a few minutes' time, we're going to share with people some clips of the movie, which will be premiered around the world in future months. Please God, the movie about you, which goes with the book. Before we do that, I want to share with everybody. Every single time I meet with Josef Lewkowicz, Jose, Joe, Rabbi Yosef, he invites me to do the same thing. And I prepared a l'chaim here.
So a l'chaim, Am Yisrael Chai.
When you say l'chaim, what does l'chaim mean? What does it mean to you?
Our life was threatened so many times. And we have hope in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And we always say l'chaim means that the Rebbeinu Shalom should give us life. We should have a happy life. And we should get rid soon of this Magefa, because the Holocaust was terrible against the Jews, the liquidation of Jews in Europe. In America, the Jews were not threatened. That Magefa that we're living now, that coronavirus, is a Magefa that all over the world. There's no hiding place. There's no country, there's no place where you can hide. we have to have betuchen HaKadosh Baruch Hu that we will survive, and to that we say l'chaim.
L'chaim, l'chaim, l'chaim. Thank you,
Well,
thank you, thank you. L'chaim. We're now going to screen some minutes, some excerpts from The Survivor's Revenge. And as I said, hopefully in future months, JRoots will be premiering this movie around the world, and also the book, which is called To Life. Because at this point, Rabbi Yosef, when you stood here 70 years later and you made that blessing, Shechianu v'kiyamanu v'giyan lazman hazeh. You went on Aliyah at the age of 89 from Montreal, and you live today in Yerushalayim. When you say Am Yisrael Chai, when you say L'chaim, it takes on a whole different depth for all of us. Thank you so much. We are truly honored to have had you with us today. Thank you. L'chaim.
One question. I spoke today for a group of people, and they wanted something. My niece, Jessica, she introduced me to that group, and people asked her where they can buy that book.
Okay.
They want to buy the book.
I think we're still live. I think we're still live over here anyway, because they're just putting the movie up. So for Jessica and anybody else who is interested, if you go onto the Facebook page of JRoots and you let us know that you'd like a copy of the book, I think they're like $10 each or something like that. We're happy.
So they still sell the book. They still sell it. They have.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. And I think they're indicating to me that we have a few more minutes. So I'm going to ask you another question.
Okay.
If as a survivor, a 94-year-old survivor who went through all of these camps and has lived all over the world and lived through Jewish history, what is it in the Jewish world today that makes you most upset and we need to fix?
Achdus.
Translate.
Jewish people should get united, not divided. There is very, very much division in the Jewish people all over the world. There's a machle, like a disease, right and left, and each hates the other instead of loving each other. So that is a big, big, big trouble. If we would only be united as a Jewish people. Some people don't want even Eretz Yisrael to be called a Jewish Medina, which is terrible. We were praying for that, to have a place, to have Eretz Yisrael. And we hope that in Eretz Yisrael we will be able to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to be able to daven and to learn and to have schools, yeshivas, and education. And there is such a divisiveness among us against this and against the other. And that is a terrible thing. Achdus, if we could only be united, no enemy could stand up against us.
Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us today. We really, truly appreciate it. A true honor for us at JRoots and all of Am Yisrael to hear Mr. Josef Lewkowicz, 94 years young, raising a glass and saying, L'chaim and Am Yisrael Chai. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.